French government unveils new law tackling Islamist extremism. In France, French President Emmanuel Macron recently secured his cabinet's approval for a draft law targeting quote unquote radical Islamism, a move some critics fear will stigmatize France's Muslim community. The law was originally titled the anti-separatism bill, a term Macron has used to refer to radical Islamists attempting to withdraw from mainstream society. Following criticism, it is now called, quote, a draft law to strengthen Republican values, end quote. Those Republican values being primarily secularism and freedom of expression. The legislation would make it easier to stop mosques from receiving foreign financing and offer protection to moderate community leaders who are endangered by extremists. It also proposes stricter criteria for authorizing homeschooling, fines or jail time for doctors who perform virginity tests on girls, banning the issuing of permanent residency papers to polygamous applicants, and also requires City Hall officials to interview couples separately prior to their wedding to make sure that they are not forced into marriage.
These all sound really good, okay? So again, I tell you, when the laws like this are passed, you have to have a red flag. You have to be like, okay, this seems like too much government intervention. It doesn't mean that there is, but you have to be concerned. You shouldn't be like, oh, this is anti-Islam, so I like it. You have to be concerned for people's rights, and you look at it and you investigate. The examples that you gave me all seem reasonable, okay? So just because I'm concerned, and when I'm telling you that you guys shouldn't just endorse France and Macron like dogmatically, that doesn't mean that I'm against what they're doing, because the more I look into it, the more I seem to see that the measures being taken are reasonable. The measures that are taken are reasonable. Only a few I've seen that are like, I don't know about that, right? But the vast majority of them are very, very good. So, but I don't say that because I dogmatically approve of anything that is just anti-Islamic. But Rivka, what do you think? What are your views on these laws?
I absolutely agree with you. They seem to me absolutely reasonable. And a lot of them, so for example, like interviewing potential husbands and wives separately, a lot of times, particularly like in immigration situations, that's already done. So that's, at least in the United States, you have someone who's marrying someone from another country. They already interview them separately to see, is this a real marriage? Are they really marrying for papers? Is it coerced? Are they being paid? All kinds of things. So that's not something that other countries don't do. That's not out of the norm. I also don't think that that is in any way coercive or potentially violating their rights. If they feel like they don't want to be interviewed by a woman, doesn't want to be interviewed by a man, I'm certain they could have a female interviewer. Those to me seem very reasonable steps that they can take to not only protect other citizens, to make sure that secularism and the values of the republic are intact and are being, taken seriously. Our people are adhering to those, but also these protect those other potential people who may not even value some of the Enlightenment principles of France. But the nation has a responsibility to protect them as well. So women who may be forced into marriages, whether they agree with the secular values of France, the nation of France is stating categorically that they want to protect these women. They want to protect women who are subject to virginity tests. They want to protect children from being radicalized. Those are all things that they're offering, that they are saying that they want to do for French citizens. Not just because they don't like Islamism, okay? But because they're offering the values and the protection of secularism to all their citizens.
All right, really quickly. By the way, if we had more time, I would have gone through each one of these and tell you how good they are. But we could do that maybe.
No, give your
No,
commentary.
okay.
I want to hear
No.
it.
I just quickly want to say that I
No, I want to
okay.
hear it.
Let me finish. Okay. I forgot what I was going to say. God damn it. All right.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Okay. So what I want to say is that the way what I notice about all of these is how different they would have been from an anti-Muslim bigot far-right government. Like the nature of these measures seem to be very much in protecting certain secular and secular values and women rights, and but it would have been so different. Like it's not like a Muslim ban and anti-immigration or anti, like it just seems so much more in protecting values that actually makes France a better country for French Muslims as well, right? And the fact that these measures are so aggressive and yet so non-bigoted, it helps Muslims in an indirect way as well, because if some right-wing French citizens feel like this is very aggressive at the way they like, they might this liberal government is going to steal a lot of votes from far-right parties, because a lot of these right-wing people might feel like, well, we have a lot more hope for Macron getting these things done than any of these parties, and reducing the power of these far-right parties because Macron is stealing their vote is going to make France a better place for Muslims to live as well. So a lot of Muslims, I think, if they knew what was best for them, they would have been encouraging these measures because they're not bigoted and because they're reducing the chances of any far-right bigot party to come in power. But yeah, I really like them. I mean, especially I really like when Macron in that interview with Al Jazeera was so clear, like, any standards, any values that want to treat women as second class, not here, not in France. He said, not in France, not gonna happen, right? And that was so powerful, and that was so beautiful. And it's very clear that they're not they can't make it more obvious how aggressively anti non-secular values they are, and yet how clearly non-bigoted these measures are. I mean, if this works, it's going to become it can become a model for other countries that want to do this right, especially because Macron's government is a liberal government, not a far-right one. It's going to give a green light to other countries for other liberal governments to copy, unlike Hungary and Poland, other far-right governments. So we can do this better than them the right way. Okay, Rivka, and then we go.
Yeah, I agree with you. I absolutely think that, as I was saying, that this, from what you can see here, this is offering protection to Muslims of France as well. And that's what I think is so important about this legislation, and that has to really be highlighted. And we have to keep saying that this is offering the protection and the rights afforded to citizens of a secular republic, regardless of your religious beliefs, regardless of your identity, whatever. The nation of France is offering these protections to its citizens because it values human rights and it values secularism. And that's what these laws are saying. And that's what Macron was saying. And he very eloquently said it. Yes, he talked about the Enlightenment. He talked about women's rights. And he, as you said, he's saying, pas chez nous, not in our house, not here. So I really would like to see other countries replicate this. And I also would like to see more people stand with France vocally and loudly support them and support their efforts to really engage with Enlightenment values, support secularism, and protect the citizens of France.
I just want to highlight this one comment. I know this really quickly. This is such a dumb comment. I have
Gregory.
to highlight it. Gregory is so dumb. Deport Abrahamic religions back to Arabia. France is, okay, so first of all, Christianity is an Abrahamic religion, and France is like 60 plus 60%, 66%, I think, if this is accurate, Christian. So Gregory wants to deport 66% of France to Arabia for some reason. I don't understand. Gregory, that's, I don't know, guys. Sometimes
Actually, Gregory, Abraham was born in Ur, which is in Iraq.
Yeah.
Okay. And then then they came to the Levant. So if you want to move all Abraham religions back to their origin, that'd be Israel. Okay. Right. And its surrounding area. So So stop with this Michigas.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna highlight the compliment. I'm sorry.
Of course.
Armin okay, now I'm gonna read it.
I just want to say here to everything Rivka just said. Rivka with some on point commentary.
Wait, what about me? Why are you only giving Rivka?
Because you know I always love your commentary.
She knows which side of the bread is buttered.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm trying to get a good word put in for me at the monthly meetings.
And subscribe! Everyone! Every single one of you is watching! Subscribe! Do it now! Do it! Do it now!